Ben, go on. What brand new game have you been playing?
What brand new game? Well, Pete, if you thought yours might not be relevant, wait to listen to this bad boy. No, because I'm playing a game from 2003.
This is
right. So
this week, isn't it?
Yeah, it's this time as we go up to the game of the year where we should really be spending time playing games from really old games. So thanks to Aspire, we got a review code for KOTOR coming to Switch. So Knights of the Old Republic, the Star Wars game, which we've talked about on this podcast a lot.
As often as we can.
Yeah, as often as we can, because it's one of the greatest RPGs of all time, and it's now been accepted fully into the Star Wars canon. So that's testament to how good the story of this game is.
Yeah.
It's even got Pazak, which is a card game in the game, which, as I was kind of running through it, it reminded me so much of being of Gwent in The Witcher, and I thought it's kind of almost a precursor before its time, that the developers of The Witcher, CD Projekt Red, probably saw like this kind of card game and were like, okay, that would be awesome in our type of game. Because this, I mean, I'm unaware of other games that there probably are where card games have been like MIDI games in another RPG setting.
Well, this is the thing, because you're probably right, and it probably actually was The Witcher, CD Projekt Red looking back and going, we like this. But it was also a big thing in Final Fantasy, in particular 8 and 9. They both had card games that are still now considered quite iconic.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
yeah.
Pazak stands with them. I actually remember exactly how Pazak looks and the sound it makes when they flip over.
Yeah, you enjoyed the game, didn't you?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, as a little side thing in the game, and it's introduced early on, just like Gwent is in The Witcher. But I'm going off piste here. So the KOTOR, it's very similar in nature to the original Mass Effect. So it's made by the people who made the original Mass Effect as well, BioWare, but it was the game before that. So, and KOTOR really set up a new genre of games, I think, to which Mass Effect just took and ran with it. Yeah. But I don't really want to give away anything serious on the story, because it's a wild ride. It's one of the stories that sticks with you through gaming. Starts off Sif running rampant under a new kind of antagonist, Lord Malak, and you are a soldier with an unknown kind of backstory, and then obviously you progress to becoming a Jedi and onwards. So it's a standard kind of story setup, which may remind you very much of the original Mass Effect, in terms of kind of that initial 10-hour progression in the game. Well, actually, the original Mass Effect was only about 10 hours. So Mass Effect, the first 4 hours of Mass Effect. But this game, it's very well known. It's a fantastically reviewed game, but the port over to the Switch is the important thing that I was looking at. So graphically, it looks great in HD, especially in handheld. I sent a couple of screenshots over to you, Pete, so that you could get a glimpse on it. It's in widescreen as well, which is a fantastic addition. It looks a very big upgrade from the original. It's not that the Switch is a different version. Like, this is just the port that's going around nowadays. So the better version that has been put on the Xbox recently and has been on mobiles and is now on Switch. It just does justice to it in your hands, in handheld, in the widescreen HD. It just looks really, really good. And the gameplay is the same gameplay that we know. It's turn-based, but it's that free-flowing turn-based style, which makes it almost seem like it's an action game, but it is turn-based, and it was pretty much one of the first of its kind. And it's amazing how, to this day, that style of combat still holds up. And Pete and I were discussing earlier and saying how the second KOTOR hasn't really been ported or remastered that we can really remember, but the combat in that was so much better. That's what we remember.
Yeah,
it was really improved in the second one, but it's still, when you go back to this original game, the combat still holds up, and that is to do with the control system, because the in-world control system is very good, but it's the targeting of people, it's the turn-based combat, which then makes it feel like it's flowing. It's just it just works very, very well, and the ability to select items in the game around you and look at different things and immediately go to that item to open that chest or whatever is it's really good. And I think a lot of games since have taken a lot of notes from this. But what really is incredible is that the world that you're running around in, they have the Star Wars sounds fantastically. Everything is voice acted except for your own character. Everything is voice acted. Even when you walk past, just random citizen, and you click as you walk past them, their little dialogue piece that you can't have any interaction with, that has sound. Like it's voice acted. Like everything is voice acted. It feels so good, and there is a passion and to the voice acting which you don't get in a lot of games, and they really put a lot into this, and it really builds the world fantastically. Like even in this very, very old game from 2003, we're almost 20 years old, I'm having an absolute blast. I'm so in on this. I said to Pete earlier, I said, this is quite possibly my favourite game ever. It's that damn good, and equally the loading times when you go from area to area, they're very, very good on Switch. Really, really good. And I imagine this is the same in other versions that have been ported over in recent years, but loading times really, really help. I seem to remember back in the day that being a little bugbear of mine, but very, very good.
I remember it being pretty poor in the originals.
Yes, you really don't like. Obviously, the hardware plays a massive impact, but the efficiencies they must have got as they ported over and just as it's 20 years on. But the load times are fantastic, and it means you can save often because, my God, you need to save often in this game because you do die when you make some mistakes. So the port in general is very. Very good, very smooth. I noticed a couple of stutters, but not frame rate drops, just a couple of stutters. But there are a couple of, I don't want to call them issues, but a couple of things that I have noticed, which are curious kind of design choices, let's say.
Just to stop you, Ben. You don't want to call them issues, but you've literally titled and bolded issues on the door.
Yes, I have. Yes, because I didn't know what to call them. But now that I'm thinking of them, I don't. Yeah, it's so in combat. When you enter combat, it comes up with like an alert at the top of the screen, which is standard in kind of the game. But on the Switch version, for some reason, it takes up quite a lot of the screen. And that's not because the text is big. It's just the box that they put up there is quite large, and it's so weird when you first see it. You're like, whoa, why have you just fucking covered the screen? But you do get very used to it, and it's not that big a deal, and I think they might kind of patch it or something to make it a bit smaller, but it's just a weird, really, really weird design choice. Secondly, and this is the most curious thing, in the originals, Pete, do you remember you could... It's a turn-based combat system, so you could load up moves, so you could load up 4 or 5 moves in advance. You can't do that on this one.
Really?
And if you remember, the mobile port of this game, also you couldn't. Because I had this on mobile fucking yonks ago. But you couldn't do that on that version either. So basically, you can choose one move, and when you're about to do that next move, you can load in another move. But so you've only ever got like a maximum of 2 moves that you can load. However, it's still got space for the 4 or 5.
That's really annoying because the best way to play that was always switching between characters, queuing a few moves, and then switching back to your main guy.
Yes. Now, I thought as soon as I started this, and I was like, I don't like that choice. And I thought that would hinder me. It hasn't as of yet. I mean, because you can pause your action in combat, and then you can go around your group and tell them to do something new next. But what it does mean is that, let's say you generally roam around in a party of 3, just like you would in Mass Effect or something. If you've got another Jedi with you and you want them to use a couple of force powers and use their like power moves, you have to continually be micromanaging that a bit more than you would normally. In the normal version of the game, which, that's something which I didn't like.
That is kind of an annoying one. But it's an annoyance, not an issue. I see what you mean.
Yeah, it's an annoyance, but actually the game is still the game. I did notice a bug after, early on in the swoop race in the first area in Taris. I talked to the wrong person afterwards, and I kept going to like just a black screen when I could pause the game, and I could walk around. I could hear my character walking around, but I just couldn't see anything.
You talked to very much the wrong person.
Yeah, no, I did. I literally talked to the wrong person, because then I did that 2 or 3 times loading in my save. I was like, what am I doing wrong? I was just talking to the wrong person. So it just never expected me to be talking to the garage person, not Bastila. But anyway, and sometimes when you're speaking, and I think this was the same in the original game. When you're having a conversation with somebody, because it's in game, you just get random characters just like walking in front of you. You're in the middle of a conversation, and you just get people like walking in front of you. That's weird, and some people they might glitch out the way or something like that. And it's just a bit weird, but that's all part of the charm. This is a 20-year-old game, and it's
honestly, I think that still happens in current Bethesda games, though, doesn't it? Like,
I was going to say it happens in real life, doesn't it? You're just talking to your mates, and some fucker just walks in front.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm loving this being on Switch. Like, I haven't been able to put it down. Like, it's so good. Like, the kind of conclusion on this game is if you like Star Wars and you haven't played this game, buy this fucking game. And if you like Mass Effect and you haven't played this game, buy this fucking game. And if you like RPGs and you haven't played this game, buy this fucking game. And if you have bought this game, you might still want to buy the fucking game. Like, it's just that good a game. You have to have a very good reason to have a Switch and not want to buy this game. It's relatively cheap, and it's a blast. Like, if you've played it before, you just do yourself a favour and play it again. Just a great game.
Cool. I echo everything you said there. Yeah. I mean, I don't even know the version, but if it's KOTOR in any aspect, buy it, play it, enjoy it.